project?
Okay. I have the engine, which is Congress. Basically, the engine forms gasoline to internal combustion, which is little controlled powers. Congress is like that because they are able to create bills, which then can potentially become laws. But depending on the bills that are passed to the president will depend on whether they become future laws or not.
Alright, the frame is essentially the Constitution because it gives guidelines on what can and can't be done by the federal government. It also gives structure, and as the car example, it has the minimum amount of things that can be included in the car, aka the Bill of Rights.
Okay. So we thought the brakes were political parties, because the point of a car when you get into it is to get from one point to another, where the brakes kind of get in the way of that, where also like the political parties kind of make things get a lot slower through Congress and some things not get passed. And then at times there can even be shutdowns like there were in the Obama administration over Obamacare because of the political parties not getting along.
All right, and I have the transmission, and the transmission is like the elections because, well, transmissions can change gears just like the elections can. It allows America to choose what way they want to go, either forward or backwards, and it also allows the car to stop or stay neutral. So like while the elections are going on, all of America is stopped because they're waiting on a president to be elected.
Alright, so I also have the gas pedal, which we thought was the founding fathers, because if you think about the government, the thing that really got this ball rolling and started it all was the founding fathers, just as the gas pedal starts the car from moving. Because otherwise, without the founding fathers, the government really would never gotten the wheels going, and it'd still be in the same place. We were saying with the car, if you don't ever hit the gas, you're just gonna be sitting in the same place the entire time.
So the driver is the president because the driver is supposed to be able to operate the basic functions in a car, which is basically the president's job. He's supposed to be able to lead the citizens of basically America, and he's also supposed to set all these laws and rules to help guide people in their everyday life.
And for the fuel, I said it was the money. The fuel is the main source of power in the car, just as money is the main source of power for all of America. For an example, if workers were to go on strike, they're not making money, the company isn't making money, there's no flow in the government, and therefore we need to work to keep the money processing through the system.
Alright, so we said that tires is media because, like media, it leads you in the direction of thinking and like how do you think, and without tires it wouldn't be able to lead you in the direction you want to go with your car. And so an example of that would be like with Hurricane Fiona that occurred in 2016, the media put on the radio, it put it on the news stations, everything, and let the citizens know that there's going to be a hurricane that's going to like occur, and let them be able to lead in the right direction, go wherever they need to go, and yeah.
So the turn signal is pretty much the voting for the Constitution because it indicates the direction which the government's headed in. It's also the consequences of the election cycle or what the government chooses and the people choose to do. And there's also kind of a metaphorical meaning as in left versus right because you're either going to go one direction. And it also signals to other governments or other cars which direction you're headed in.
Alright, and we said that the passenger is citizens because since the driver is the president, the citizens in the state usually, in all the 50 states, usually follow the rules of what the president says, and they can't really break a rule or else something will happen. And if you're the passenger in a car, the driver takes you to where they want to go. And so if the driver doesn't want to go somewhere you want to go, then you're not going to be able to go that direction because you have to follow the way that the driver wants to go. And so that's kind of like what correlates with citizens and passengers and drivers, because if you're a citizen and you want to do something and the president doesn't approve of it, you're not allowed to do it. Such as if you're a passenger in a car and you're not the driver, and the driver wants to go somewhere, then the passenger just has to go where the driver wants to go.
All right. So then I said the airbags act like the courts because the airbags they deploy if you get in a car crash or an accident. If you get into a legal situation, say you're getting sued by someone, the courts decide who is right and who is wrong, and it protects you in the event of something wrong. For example, the recent case, Darwish versus Trump. Darwish was a man from Iraq who had all the right paperwork, he had all his immigration stuff filled out, but I think a few hours after the first travel ban was enacted, he was detained at the JFK airport, I believe. I'm not sure on that. But he thought that was unconstitutional. He thought that was against the First Amendment, the religion clause, and as well as the Fifth Amendment. And so he took it to the Supreme Court, and it has not gone to trial yet. They're still gathering evidence, but it will be determined who is right and who is wrong. And then if we're going with the idea that the president is the driver, then the horn would be foreign relations, because the horn is a way to communicate with other drivers. For example, if someone's driving on the highway and they cut you off, you can honk at them and be like, hey, try not to kill me, please. And this recently happened with Trump's dialogues with Kim Jong-un, who is threatening to nuke, I believe Guam it was. So he's honking the horn saying, hey, don't do that because we'll rain down the fire and fury and whatever that was. So the horn acts as a way to for drivers to communicate with other drivers, and in the case of the government, leaders and officials from governments to communicate with foreign governments.